Hello everyone, welcome to the Ginger Snaps here. We'll be discussing the horror movies for you guys in a very blunt way. I'm your host, Steven Harrold, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my review for Friday the 13th, Part 2, released in 1981, and was directed by Steve Miner. Now, a few years ago when I started the channel, I actually had reviewed this film before, but I went way too far in depth, so if you guys do want the link to that original video, it will be in the description down below. But this is pretty much where I was pretty much starting out, right? So now that a few years have come by and I've grown more accustomed to doing movie reviews properly, I feel like I wanted to give this a new type of review, to re-review this film, and of course, just so happens to land on Friday the 13th, which is more than fitting. So when it comes to this sequel, I really wanted to do it justice and give you a proper review for it. So let's get into Friday the 13th, Part 2. Now for the story of this film, of course, we do return to a campground. It has been 5 years since the events of Friday the 13th, Part 1, which then kind of sets this movie into 1984, which later on down in this channel, you guys will then realize how fucked up this timeline is. But basically, we are not at Camp Crystal Lake. We are at a camp that basically teaches camp counselors how to manage a camp, I guess. And of course, we do get our introduction to Jason Voorhees in this film. As you all remember, in the first film, Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom, was the killer in this film. Spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen this film, but I mean, it's been well over 40 fucking years, so I don't know what's wrong. But yeah, other than that, Jason is, terrorizing all these camp counselors, and we only get to see basically who will be the ones who survive his rampage. Now, of course, when it comes to this story, it's a very concrete sequel, especially to the first film. You go from Pamela Voorhees to now Jason Voorhees, where the myth of Jason, where he drowned in the lake, has caused so much debate in the horror genre. Basically, now everyone just assumes that Jason just never drowned in the first place. So when it comes to this story, especially with the camp counselors who are learning the legend and then having to deal with Jason itself, it's basically a very concrete sequel. And a lot of people I know that love Friday the 13th do tend to put this high on their ranking. So when it comes to its story, it's an A plus for me on that one. Characters in this movie are a lot better from the characters from the first film. Of course, you do end up pretty much going on so many different journeys with these different types of characters. Of course, Jenny is the main character, the final girl in this film, played by Amy Steele, and she rocks it. She's one of the favorites in the Friday the 13th Final Girls catalog. A lot of people do love her performance in this movie. I do too. And when it comes to all the other side characters, like Paul and many of the other camp counselors, basically a lot of them are very, memorable, especially the guy in the wheelchair. Now, when it comes to all those characters, do their deaths hold up? Yeah, they do. But you do tend to kind of gravitate to all these camp counselors. You tend to gravitate to a lot of them. They feel like your buddies. They feel like people you kind of know in your own personal life. I know a few of these characters basically, remind me of some of the friends I have. And, I do appreciate when a Friday the 13th does actually have good characters. And this one definitely has good characters. As for the antagonist of this movie, which would then become the antagonist that is the most popular in this franchise, Jason Voorhees. Now, of course, to some of you who are new to Friday the 13th, you're probably wondering and asking yourselves, why the fuck is he not wearing a hockey mask? Again, this was the how do I put this? The growing pains when it came to the character of Jason, because as we all know, he was just the boy who drowned in the first movie. He wasn't even supposed to be an actual character. But then they made him a character in this sequel, getting the revenge of the death of his mother. And of course, he has a hillbilly look. He's got a burlap sack over his head. He's using various items as weapons. And Jason does run in this movie. Now, that's the other thing that is always forgotten about when it comes to all the other Friday the 13th films when people watch them. Jason walks. He wears a hockey mask. He has a machete. This movie didn't have that. I mean, Jason barely killed anyone with a machete. He mainly has a pickaxe, a pitchfork, a butcher knife, all the kind of instruments of, destruction that he could get his hands on. And of course, he kind of lives as a hermit. He lives in a makeshift shack in the middle of the woods. So for Jason in this movie, it's a unique look, especially if it was your first look as Jason the Killer of the Friday the 13th franchise. But I still dig it. I still think it's a good look. But, it's not the look that everyone knows him for. The score for Harry Manfredini, of course, when it comes to the Friday the 13th franchise, obviously got a little bit of an update. We do get little nuances of soundtrack in this movie, and there's some callbacks as well. But, when it comes to the Friday the 13th franchise, of course, the main soundtrack that everyone kind of associates with Friday the 13th is not actually the score itself, it's the sound that Jason makes. That sound. And no, it's not it's not that. I don't know how many times I have to correct people on this one. But yeah, Harry Manfredini, of course, is a legend when it comes to the Friday the 13th franchise. And I think his score does really add more character in all the Friday the 13th films, especially in this one. When it comes to also Friday the 13th, we also have to talk about the kills of this movie, and these kills are very fucking memorable. I mean, some of them are memorable just for the sheer fact that they have, stood the test of time as, some of the greats in the franchise. And then there are some that, there's some minor hiccups to them. I mean, like, for example, we see the crazy Ralph, he gets killed by, being hung against a tree with razor wire, that's a good death. Adrian King's Alice gets killed in the first fucking 15 minutes of the movie with an ice pick to the eye or to the temple. Then you got the more memorable kills where the wheelchair guy gets smacked in the face with the machete backwards, I might add, and rolls down the steps, very memorable kill. Then, of course, you got the shish kebab in the bed, very memorable kill. But then there's, the other kills where it's just like, oh, the off-screen kill of the hot chick. We got the kill where the guy's in a bear trap kind of esque thing where he's hanging upside down and he gets his throat slit, but with the back of the machete, which is not sharp. I don't know about that one. Then, of course, we have other, kills that are kind of okay and whatnot. But when it comes to the gore and the kills of this film, they do kind of up the ante with this film, especially when it comes to the death count, right? So I do appreciate the kills in Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, of course, there's some minor nitpicks for this movie. I mean, like, as we all know, when it comes to the Friday the 13th, there's a lot of debates. One of these debates is, whatever fucking happened to Paul at the end of the movie? Like, we don't fucking ever get to see him again. Jenny is literally screaming, like, where's Paul? We don't know if Jason coming out of the window was just a dream or a figment of her imagination. We don't fucking know. And if that one dead dog in the forest was not Muffin, then what the fuck was it? Other than that, a lot of the things that, are kind of minor nitpicks in this movie are just that. They're just minor. This film is still appreciated by a lot of people when it comes to the Friday the 13th franchise, and I do appreciate it. Just little minor nitpicks. That's all we get. Now, when it comes to this movie, I do think this movie is a solid sequel. The kills live up to the original and maybe a little bit better. The introduction of Jason as the antagonist of this film was a pretty smart choice, especially going down the road further into the franchise. The characters are all great. The setting, of course, it's near Camp Crystal Lake, but not quite there. But still, it's in the woods. It's in a campground. It's still very familiar with the first film. So, of course, when it comes to Friday the 13th Part 2, it's a solid sequel. And if you guys haven't seen it, you should actually watch it for yourselves. And for my rating, I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 2 a 7.5 out of 10. And that has been my review for Friday the 13th Part 2. Is it one of your favorites? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure you also give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you can get notified about all the other videos coming out on the channel. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. This has been the Ginger Snaps here. My name is Steven Harrold. Happy Friday the 13th. I'll talk to you guys later. And remember to stay spooky.